I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Very welcome, sir.
We will hold on the public participation and reopen the public hearing on the local law regulating taxi services. My understanding is that we have a corrected copy with the last corrections that we made. Do we have any comments as to the corrections, or anyone that'd like to be heard with the way the law as it stands today, as it's been changed?
What changes did you make? What corrections?
Took the fingerprint.
Fingerprints are gone?
And changed a G to an H, or an H to a G.
And fix the licensing provisions.
And then
The licensing.
7S,
License,
Section 7.
what is that?
Yes. That was that you had to have a
Type E.
Class E license, and according to the,
Oh, right.
okay?
That's all that.
Okay. I really have, I'm short of time myself. I've got to run a basketball game in a few minutes. I have, I'm sure that you're going to vote this in, and I'm not real happy about it, as you know, as you well know. But I have about two things that I object to, and I'm going to state what they are.
Okay.
I'm going to object to them, I'll tell you briefly why I'm objecting to them. And I'm going to start out with my number one concern is that you require me to have my social security number. I do not work for the town of Ticonderoga. The only person, the only entity that gets my social security number might be a credit card company, or a bank, or the IRS. The town of Ticonderoga does not need my social security number, or neither does the police department. In section 7, under operator's license, we state, if you go there briefly and look at it, you might want to correct this because you might have some trouble with this. Section 5, paragraph B, 4, the applicant's age, date of birth, color, wait a minute, color. Is that proper terminology?
No.
Color. Okay, I'll leave that for you guys to discuss that. I think that's testing. I object to a physical test, a mental test, and a drug test. I have not committed a crime in my business. My business is accident-free for 31 years. And I object to business revenues being inspected by the town, and I object to a log stating that I have to log time, pick up, drop off in time with my customers. I object to the fact that I can be pulled over anytime by the police, inspected, my car inspected, for the serious reasons like maybe it might be dirt on my floor and then not clean. Like I said, I object to my records being requested by the town board, or the police. Smoking is not allowed in any public transportation. But in this, apparently you're allowing the customers to make a decision whether to smoke or not. It's not allowed in public transportation in New York State. We've not addressed the issue of the Office of the Aging, transportation, town buses, Uber, or any county bus who offer the same service. And I also object to the name and address on a permit visible to the public. Do you want your name and address, where you live, visible to some nut in the back seat, might stalk you the next day, thinks you charge too much? No one wants that. There's a lot of privacy, business privacy, and personal privacy issues here I think are leaving this town in a liable state. Because once this is passed, it's going to be tested. And once it's tested, you're going to find yourself in a position that maybe we should adjust these a little bit. This is, like I said before, this is very intrusive. This is one business in the town of Ticonderoga that has to supply their records to the town, records of their income and their whereabouts, and inspected by the town police. For a town policeman to come by and pull me over and say, I need to inspect your car to see if it's clean, to me, that is similar to a Gestapo tactic, and I'm not pleased with it. And I understand you need to break this town with what you want to do, but that's not how you do it. You have a police department that should be doing it a different way. You know, the teeth bar has its own teeth, it doesn't need these teeth. Okay? We're doing this for a long time. It's definitely government overreach. I'll state it now, I'll state it again. You probably have to state it in the government in the courtroom, but this is where it's going to go. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments.
When you vote, you guys vote on it, be happy about what you're voting on. Everybody's liable, including me as a town taxpayer. We're all liable. I have to go, thank you.
Thank you, Si. Do we have anyone else who would like to address the proposed law?
Yes.
Fine, if you'd stand, state your name, please.
Ticonderoga. Okay. My question is that right for everybody coming into town of Ticonderoga, or only for the companies that are in time? And if it is, how are you going to enforce it? If the taxi company coming from Albany to pick it up, they can. How are you going to stop it? Or how are they going to do it with this law?
That would be Mr. John's job to do. Yes. Yes.
Okay. The jurisdiction that a town can have is on the fairs in Ticonderoga. In Ticonderoga, that this taxi company, no matter where they're based out of, come in and take a fare from one point to another place in Ticonderoga, the town does have jurisdiction. Other than the town has jurisdiction on is the round trips. If it's from a point in Ticonderoga to a place out of Ticonderoga, and then back to Ticonderoga, then the town does have jurisdiction to enact a law to express, to follow the regulations that the town establishes.
That means if that's cash, we don't get cash. We don't get paid cash.
Oh, if it's travel for money, then yes, that would be the following.
So that means if we take any fare taking out of Ticonderoga, going to different place, that's not covered.
If the same company brings that same person back into Ticonderoga, then yes, it is covered.
So like somebody from Warren County to Warren County is different?
Yes.
So
Or,
we'll have
yep, and likewise, if I got a taxi from the city of Albany to the airport to Ticonderoga, our law does not apply.
So that means only people picking up from Ticonderoga. Because we work from Albany to Rome.
Yep, and the drivers and the taxis that service the people in Ticonderoga would have to be permitted. But with the drivers and the taxis that operate outside of Ticonderoga, we have no jurisdiction.
So I still have a question. That means taxi company coming from Glens Falls, their driver, whoever is coming, has to go through the same stuff. And if they are not, how are you going to do that?
Many municipalities have this same ordinance, whether it's posting at entrances of Ticonderoga, taxi licensing law in effect. That's what we do with peddler permits and everything else. But these companies would, if they routinely are in Ticonderoga, yes, very potentially we would contact them and send them a copy of the law if advising them. But also they're subject to a ticket if they don't receive the permit that they're doing the business with.
And also, my drivers, they do live in Thailand, but they go always work all different places. Not everyone work in Thailand.
So it only the ones that, we would only express jurisdiction over people who are,
Picking up in time.
and correct.
My name is Charlene Aslam. I have a question for Chief Johns. The companies that are here right now representing mostly 99% of us do Medicaid work. We're paid by Medicaid of the state of New York. How can you ask us to tell you exactly what we make for every trip that's done in the Thai area? Because the state's already paying, the state is the one who's paying us. The state Medicaid program is.
Now, the record keeping is just, we're not going to collect those, we don't want to.
But my question is, why is it your business or the town's on what Medicaid pays each company? 'Cause that's what I'm understanding. You want to know exactly what we make in our, in these runs for the state of New York.
And really, I might defer to the lawyer. The record keeping is just for the fares in Ticonderoga. If there was ever a question that came up during the investigation or anything like that, we may request to execute fares, but it's not going to be normal practice.
Because most, like us three here, we do mainly Medicaid. That's what we do, the Medicaid transportation. We're not picking up private runs, very, very, very little. I mean, it's...
That's not 1%.
Yeah, not even 1%.
But the runs you guys are making, you're facilitating drugs.
No, my company does not.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
We'll ask the questions. Thank you. Do you want to address the fair issues, Mr. Fuller? About why we are requesting the records of the fairs? No.
No, it's really just a policy decision. I mean, the reality is, the Medicaid fares
Yes.
are subject to FOIL anyway. They're public.
They're public information.
But as to whether you should collect them or not collect them, it's not purely not a legal issue. That is a policy of how the law was drafted and what you want to regulate. Well, matter of fact, all of them are. The question about medical authorizations and all those things, those are purely policy decisions of whether or not the town wants to collect that information. So the arguments that the first gentleman was making, he's arguing policy, not necessarily law. This is clearly within what the board wants. Could somebody say it's invasive? Yeah, they can say that about any law.
Sure.
So that's a reality.
Chief Johns, you feel that the fair information is necessary as part of this law?
Unless there's, on my end, absolutely not. It would be location, start location, and is date and time. If it ever came up on an investigatory level where we needed to look into any particular thing, it would be mostly about dates and times.
It would be the log information, not so much the fair information.
Many municipalities, I'm sure the reason that they have that in the template that they used, many municipalities and cities regulate how much taxi cabs can pay per mile or anything like that. So the template probably had that in there because it came from a part of the state that does express regulatory authority over the rates that taxi companies use.
Okay. Question?
The fare left is regulated by each county different. That's part of the fare. The second is, we have the record for each, but you might have to contact the office, like if driver I have all the information with me. You can't give information all of it to because under people. But we have, for every fare we take, we have the time to pick up, time to drop off, pick up address, pick up, and where we got to take them. And that we get it from the Medicaid, where we take them.
So you already do that portion?
Yes, we do have it. Customer does not tell us where they have to go. We get the order from the Medicaid, where we have to pick them up, the time, and where we have to take them.
The company's called Med Answering that does all the state of New York's Medicaid trips.
and they verify all the information before they give us the script, where the trip has to go, and if there is a need for it, or if it doesn't need for it, they don't approve it.
And it has to be a licensed medical place, or
Yeah.
like your St. Joe's.
Wherever that goes.
And as this gentleman stated, yes, you are taking people to drug rehab places. But everything's regulated by the state of New York. You can look up the website, it's
Med answering.
Med Answering.
No.
It's called Mass Medical Answering Service, and it gives you a list also of every county in the state of New York, what each company is paid per mile and per pickup.
And they go through the background checks before that.
Okay.
We have to, at all times, your insurance has to be up to date. Our insurance is not just typical insurance. The taxi insurance is very expensive. You have to show proof of taxi insurance. If you have new vehicles, most people have newer vehicles. We have full coverage vehicles. We have double insurance. We have to have liability.
There was a question brought up in section 5, item 4. How is that described by motor vehicle? I assume that's where this came from, and I'm a bit surprised at, yes.
Again, the template that we used to pull this in had that criteria. And from a law enforcement perspective, I'll be honest with you that we do ask people their race and their ethnicity whenever we have interactions or arrest or anything else like that. Because in New York State, we have so many people who share the same name, as many descriptors that you have for that person to make sure that John Smith is the talk about is the same John Smith or that's possible.
Okay, is it required on a driver's license?
I just looked at my driver's license, it doesn't have color on it. But that's not, I don't know if that's all licenses.
I see it in some places it's optional. It's not, doesn't have, some places I've seen it.
But it has a photograph, so
Yeah.
that tells it.
And we're also requiring a photo ID.
Yes.
So if you have a photo ID, you could,
Get to see that better, Mike.
I don't carry my license with me. So.
I just wondered if I thought it had occasion on it.
Nope.
When they run.
I guess they look at your picture and say that you or not.
I guess. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I have one.
Okay.
I know that a lot of people that I take a lot of older people. People have privacy issues. People are even embarrassed if you take them to a regular medical appointment. They don't want their information out there. And like on the paperwork that we get, it shows like the people's Medicaid numbers and stuff. And I mean, that, like I said, with HIPAA, we can't show that to anybody. That's
I
private
understand.
information.
Yeah.
If all this is going to start being regulated, I mean, besides business owners, our information being put out there, now you're asking our clients for their information to be put out here also, by the sounds of it.
No.
No, okay, I just wanted to make sure on that.
No. The other one other issue I have is Mr. Labrador made a comment about name and address
The licensee,
on the,
no license that's displayed on
Right.
the vehicle. That's, it's under C. Item C. It's on page 4 of the bill of the law. Business license shall state the name and address of the licensee.
okay, that's the business license, not the operator, correct?
No, you're talking about C,
Yeah.
but how the business license provided?
Well, I'm directing this at Mr. Fuller.
I'm sorry.
Section 4, item C. No, that's not it.
No.
That's not it. Excuse me.
Oh, it's for the driver.
No, you're talking about, I think, section 5, C.
5C.
Okay, it says name, address. I don't, that's another one name, date of birth. I know in New York, every cab has a photograph ID of the driver, but I don't believe it has their address on it.
And I think that that is just a policy that the town puts in place through the town clerk's office. Even if that was on the backside of that, the main information that the passenger has to see is, yes, that this is the licensed operator. That's a picture of him, and there's a full telephone number that if I have a complaint about the services I received as a taxi cab company, I can contact that clerk's office.
Okay.
If we just formatted it in a way that other information that may want to be kept private was on the backside of that you would comment.
Okay. Wouldn't have to be displayed, it would only have to be available.
We also have cards.
That makes sense.
That many calls. That you can call, speak to the owner.
You can speak to the owner, you can speak to the MBS.
Yeah.
They are their compliance department also. If there is something goes wrong, the customer always call them, what happens, and then they call us what's going on and what happened. And we respond to them.
We're regulated by the state of New York already.
I understand that. It's the board's pleasure. Any other comments? I'm sorry. It's the board's pleasure.
If we make changes on this, we have to redo it.
Oh, you would have to table it to make substantive changes. You do that to your end of the month.
If we put it off to the end of the month, we can make some of these changes. There's no reason why the person's address, home address and all that should be on this license. Doesn't have to be.
I can see it being on the license, Dave. I just don't think it ought to be, needs to be out where the public can view it. I think Si had a good point. You know,
Well, there has to be something in the car that the passenger can look at, and it
Yeah.
says they're a taxi driver and their picture and their name.
yeah, but on the back of it, as Mark was saying, that may be, we've got to devise that form, okay? And on the back of it would be their address. So if the police want to look at it for whatever reason, that information is there for them, but it's not available to the passenger.
And this doesn't say it has to display it to the person.
Right,
It just says it needs to be on.
yeah.
If the police pull that person over, they're going to ask for their driver's license. They'll have all that information.
They should ask for both. They should ask for their driving license. I would assume you'll ask for, if you pull over a cab, you would ask for their driver's license and their taxi license, correct?
If they were falling within our jurisdiction, where are you coming from, where are you going? And if they answer the question that says, oh, portage to the health center, absolutely, we need to ask and see local.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Dave?
Yes.
Got me.
I have a question in this one here. If I pick up from Portage, going to E-Town, how that will work?
Will the same passenger be coming back to Ticonderoga?
Could be different driver bringing back. Don't have to be the same driver.
Same company?
Company's same, yeah.
It would have to, it would be operating under the restrictions of the law.
Yeah. But it's a different driving, I send one driver to take it there, and I send another driver to bring it back. How would you go to that?
I would say that that company is subject to the law because it's considered, if one company or probably a different company owns that, then it's not
That's what I said, how you, one cab have that record to take it there, but the other cab have the record to bring him back. How are you gonna figure out this is the same company took it?
rather than.
You can't give ticket on the dot, you gotta give ticket if something's breaking the law. You can't give ticket on the dot.
Oh, what if the passenger called us up and said, yes, absolutely, the same company brought me there and they brought me back? If that information was made and conveyed to us, then yes, we would be able to develop a probable cause case for a violation of law.
So it's depending on somebody else, third person testimony, right?
Oh, evidence, yes.
Right?
It could.
It could, yeah, that's
Good.
good.
All prosecutions are subject to evidence.
Yeah. I've got a couple reservations about where we're at. One is section 5, item B, number 4. I think color should be taken out of that. The form for the license, I would like to see the form for the permit for the operator. I thought somewhere we had a state where that had
I have
to be.
another question and get that.
Okay.
What was the second,
Yeah,
Bill?
it does say the permit shall be conspicuously posted and securely fastened on the visor of the driver's side of the taxi cab. So it does specifically say that. The address part of it, I think, when we choose the form, it doesn't have to necessarily say it in this, but when we choose the form, that information should be on the back of the license form so that it doesn't show in a display to the public. But I think it's information that should be on the form, so it's available to a police officer if they need to see it.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the operating permit that we're talking about here in section 5, does every driver, not just the owners, but every driver have to have a permit?
Absolutely.
Not just the e-license, but the permit? And they want to carry them with them at all times?
When they're driving in Ticonderoga, they've got to have it displayed on the visor.
And one more. Item number 4, the last word in citizenship, you might want to say the legal status on it. Citizenship does not require to drive the cab.
What number is that,
The
Cass?
number 4, that's number 4.
Right.
Section 5, B, number 4, the last word.
The same one where you saw color?
Yeah.
The last word is citizenship, Bill. He's saying you don't need citizenship to drive a cab. I believe he's probably correct on See where he's seeing that?
Yeah. It's not saying you have to have it to drive the cab, it just says it wants the information.
Okay,
Yeah, it's not a requirement.
okay. Yes.
Yeah, it's not a requirement to get the license, it's just a piece of information that's wanted by the
Yeah, just like there's no
license, for the
requirement.
license.
Height, weight, color of eyes, color of hair, place of birth.
Yeah, same as all the rest of them.
We'd be on thin ice with that,
What?
the requirement.
Yeah, no, it doesn't require them to be a citizen. It just wants to know what their citizenship is. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So the size other question regarding social security number, is that, do you have to have a social security number when you fill out a driver's license application? Or- So it is required on there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other,
If
yeah.
you, matter of fact, my grandson just went to get his permit, and he had to have the birth certificate, and he had to have the social security number.
Yeah, just to get a permit.
Yeah, just to get a permit.
So if there's that on record with the DMV because they have a driver's license, do we have to collect that information again?
Do we have to? No. Is it a redundancy that we want to take? That's a good question. Do we need that information? Is there anything that would require us to have a social security number for identification?
The only thing I can think of, sir, is police in general, and I'm sure the more information that you collect to make that person unique is the reason that we collect much information. I think the other thing that the Social Security number would do if an investigation was started by another agency that looks into other factors such as taxation or anything like that, they would have an inspection and no rights to that to make sure that the people who are driving taxis and receiving compensation for this are eligible to work and have a Social Security number that qualifies to that thing that
Interesting point.
So they would have that on file with the DMV though, right?
My access to home Department of Motor Vehicle records never shows a Social Security number. I'm not sure what DMV has on file.
Mark, what if the person isn't from this country, doesn't have a social security number?
There's a similar number that's issued with visa that is given to people that are authorized to work in the United States.
To get the e-license, you gotta have Social Security.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And that was a good point about the taxation and all of that. That's a reasonable request. One other thing I picked up on, 2 or 3 different people have mentioned, do we want to know the fees? We do not regulate the amount of fares. I don't know why we would need to know the fees. If it's a Medicaid issue or something like that, as Mr. Fuller said, that's foilable. I don't know why that couldn't be removed as one of our criteria. I don't see where it would affect anything. And I know there's a concern among the business owners that it's none of the government's business until tax time how much they make or don't make. And as a former business owner, I am sensitive to that. Is that something that the board thinks we could eliminate? Or, I don't.
Wherever there's a cash business, in any county or any city, they do regulate how much you can charge. But I never heard in any county or any city or any where we work that they have regulated, they worry about this pay that we charge. We don't even charge. We get paid by the state, by each county, which is already regulated, and they are different. I don't know how they do it, but they are different in every county.
You could
I would
compensate
say
it.
as long as they have
You could compensate it by Medicaid and Medicare.
their trip, excuse me, their trip to and from.
Yeah, they got the trip log, so why,
Excuse me.
we would only take out the fee part of it. They already keep a trip log, so,
Right.
And
and that was,
we do have, you can go months back.
Mhm.
We have the record for which driver took which customer, where and when. And we do feed that every night. When we finish the trip, we put it in the system that this is the driver, this is the car, and they took the trip that trip, because that is already in there with the trip. But we have to add the driver and the car to that log. And that goes into med answering system.
okay.
Does Mark have any reason to have financials in there? Do you?
I think you already indicated, not really. Just the template that we used included it.
And it comes from a municipality that did get into a regulation of
Fares.
Yeah, we're not going to regulate
Cost
what they
of
charge.
fares.
That's
Yeah.
their business.
Well, we've got to grow another 100,000 in population. When that happens, I'll let you worry about it, because I'm going to be dead and gone.
Yeah, then you can come back to it.
I have a question.
Yes.
I keep hearing about all these other counties and these other areas are doing it. Are they doing it for companies that are strictly Medicaid companies?
Again, I'll go back to the definition of taxi. If you're transporting the public, the people,
We're not transporting public, we're transporting clients of Medicaid. So they're not the public, we're not transporting the public. It's a private, it's considered a private trip because it's, it's a Medicaid person. Medicaid or Fidelis, state of New York health insurance.
if it's a taxi service that...
There is a difference, Mark. The taxi is regulated, livery is not regulated.
And really, again, I'll defer to
In
the lawyer.
Plattsburgh, in the city area, there's a taxi can take the person from one to other. Livery cannot take that person. Livery cannot charge fare, but livery can go and pick up the fare like we do at any location.
Is that also required for the chant bus and that type of stuff?
We're getting in.
When you look at the definitions, unless it falls into the exemptions, then, and section 3 is the exemptions, section 2 is definitions. So I would just refer to that.
Yeah, nonprofits, that would make sense. So if they're collecting funds, then it can be regulated?
Now, the chant, if it's defined as a bus, then
Well, if it's the board's pleasure, I would say we table this for our financial meeting and make the appropriate changes that we've discussed tonight. Those being Section 5, Item 4, eliminate color, and also take out the reference to the fees in the log. I guess that's all, correct?
Social Security.
Just those two items.
You got the social security number, or you're leaving that in?
I would leave it in. I think that makes sense to me. You could get in a situation where you've got, I don't think we have, but in other areas, there's a lot of illegal aliens that could be driving, and you may get them coming into town or out of town, and I think it would be a good thing to have. Question in the back?
Yeah, section 5, part B, 9. You guys really think it's necessary to have a physician statement saying we're capable to drive a car? Now, on our license, it would say if we have restrictions, right, like nighttime driving or something like that. You guys would need a physician statement. That's what it's saying here. I don't think that's necessary.
It should be fit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to be my doctor.
That should be fit.
Because it would be on my license there to have this restriction.
How often do you renew your license?
Every 5 years, I think, or whenever it's renewed, and I go to the doctors more than that.
In that 5-year period or 10-year period, whatever it is, between licenses, you're a very young, healthy individual, but when you get old and decrepit, there's a lot of things can change in your physical condition in a 5-year period,
Oh, anything about it.
and that is what this is about. Okay? CDL people, other people that drive for hire are subject to that requirement. And
I
this
have a
is,
question.
yes.
We keep talking about taxi cabs. Us three right here, this young gentleman who works for the company, we are not taxi cabs, we are livery companies. There is a big difference.
We can sit here and we can play semantics games forever, but we are not going to do that. Okay? I think everybody here is aware of the businesses that we are trying to regulate, the reasons we're trying to formulate a control factor for the town of Ticonderoga, and we're not going to play semantics games doing it.
Truly, myself, I don't know why it's being regulated, and I want to find out why, because I really don't know.
Sir,
I've never been pulled over, or never had no problem.
Hopefully, you never will be.
Sir, just in response to that one, I will, for the purpose of our local law, we define what a taxi cab is, and that's defined in section 2 that says a taxi cab for the purposes of this law and town regulation is defined as any motor vehicle engaged in the business of transportation for hire other than the So regardless of semantics of whether you are a taxi that says on the that's what the town law is defining what taxi cab is. And just touching, because this is the first time we see you at a meeting, so really, I'll go back to, it's not public safety, but really the community. And certain people express concern to myself, town board, about the safety factors. That there's been some people that possess Class C licenses that have been involved in multiple car accidents, that have been involved in arrest situations, have really, and the community has expressed concern about saying, hey, I call up and get a taxi to bring me to the train station or bring me to a doctor's appointment, and the person driving me is potentially not regulated because anyone can walk into the front of a motor vehicle. You have a Class C license, you can have 11 points, one under the amount that is necessary to suspend your license. And if you give DMV enough money, they're going to give you a Class C license. They don't care if you've been involved in 4 accidents, they don't care if you have reckless driving, you've done wireless and everything else on your record. They're going to just want to get your Class C money and give you that Class C license. This is going back to public safety, that the people involved in transporting people for hire in town of Ticonderoga, we're expressing a little jurisdiction over by saying, yes, we want people in Ticonderoga to know if you call for a taxi, you're going to have a safe driver. You're not going to have felons, people who are habitual drunk drivers, drug dealers, et cetera, transporting you or members of your family. So it's all about public safety is the only reason that we're looking to get into this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Okay. I would, do we have to make a motion to table this? I would entertain a motion to table the hearing until the financial meeting on the 24th of
When will the changes be?
February.
At that point, could we still be making changes, or?
We will make the changes that we've noted here, the
So,
2 changes.
I'll make that motion.
So I have another point. I'd like to go back to social security number. I don't like having, the town doesn't collect social security numbers for anything, as far as I know, Tony, you can correct me, please. The only time we collect social security numbers is for employment information. Is
And
that right?
star exemptions.
Star exemptions. I think it's, no, when you're collecting that, it's
Certain court documents,
court documents, okay.
marriage
It's-
licenses.
It's a liability as far as.
We collect them for a lot of things.
Okay.
There is, excuse me.
I understand the point you're making, and I feel the same way. But we already, 99% of them we already have. It's a protection issue,
There is
we've got to be careful.
one incident that I'd like to bring up. In other words, I've got a son that's got the same name as I do. And on my driver's license, they will not put senior, they will put junior on his. So consequently, where I'm in trouble unless my ID number on that, on my license will refer to my social security number. That's the only way that they can distinguish the difference. But
It's the same thing, I had the same thing with my dentist. I know exactly.
Okay, I'm fine then.
Okay, we have a motion made, do we have a second?
A second.
Made and seconded, any further discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You know, the folks that are here and speaking tonight, when Tanya gets this done, if you give Tanya a call, we can get you a copy of the changes if you'd like to look at them. You know, that way, if you have any comments, please let us know, you know,
Yeah.
or anyway.
Probably early next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't address all the concerns,
Yeah.
but I think we've been through and looked at the pros and cons on a lot of different items. These are the ones that we can live with. We hope they make it so that you feel the same way and we can all go forward.
Yeah.
But feel free to get a copy and check it.
So when is next, you coming back or something? No, that's,
the
The
24th
24th,
of February.
we'll bring it back with the changes that we talked about,
okay.
and then we'll act on it again,
That meeting is at 11:30 here.
In the morning.
11:30 a.m. a.m.
AM, 11:30 AM.
24th?
Just
Yeah, the
before lunch.
financial meetings
I'll tell you.
earlier in the day. Yeah. I just didn't want you to miss it.
Just before lunch on the 24th.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they sounded a little grouchy, please forgive me tonight.
No offense,
But-
none taken.
I live a good, clean life, and I feel like we're being attacked. And I have my priorities too in my life.
I wouldn't, there's a lot of industries that wind up being the subject of regulations for things that they have nothing to do with.
And that's life.
It is.
Buy a restaurant.
Sad part of it, but it is.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, we'll invite the public to be heard. If anybody has anything they'd like to bring to the board's attention. But we don't
That would be you, Trace.
That would be you, Tracy?
You don't want to hear my comment.
Maybe.
Oh, come on.
We'll move to resolutions. Resolution to accept or correct the minutes of the regular and special meetings.
We're here for the financial.
I'll make it.
Thank you.
Second.
I wasn't here, so I'm out of this. You three can go.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution to approve the water and sewer reports.
I'll make it.
Second?
I wasn't at one of the meetings, so I can't second.
Hey, were we here for that meeting?
Which meeting, Tracy?
22nd?
Where are you, my friend?
On the water sewer report.
Well, we're dealing with reports as they're stated in
It's
the,
not your, it's really.
yeah, it's not, we're not approving the meetings, we're approving the reports that are there, that they're accurate.
Yeah. That's what makes me nervous. It's Tracy's report.
Well, I understand that part.
wasn't here.
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Yeah.
Second. Any further discussion? All,
I do have a question about that. That's
Okay.
the special meeting about the EFC and the, yeah.
Is that the special meeting or is that the water and sewer?
both.
Okay. I was at one, not the other.
So the special meeting, I wasn't at, but I've been reading this. I had some questions about the Baldwin Road filtration, and maybe, what came in the minutes was different from what's here.
Should we do that on the report?
These are the minutes.
Well, what came to us via email, all of these, the design reports didn't come via email.
Keep in mind, that's why I put it in there. Well, there's another one in there for the 22nd,
For the 22nd.
which is right before the one for the 27th. Okay, where that is,
That's part of, the diagrams were part of the 22nd.
yeah, those were all attached to me to put in the minutes.
Yeah.
Well, there's part of it about not having space at the filtration, at the Baldwin Road filtration plant, and we're going to have to move something, or,
We've got to expand the sand filters if we use sand filters and not the microbial filters.
I think she's talking about the line, the property line.
well,
Or are
the
you
property line, yeah, the property line is in question as well. Is-
Well, that's an entirely different
Yeah.
issue. It has nothing to do with the water.
Oh, it can't handle the backwash to treat more than,
No, that refers to the sewer line.
that's the sewer line.
Yes. And
But
again,
that's
that's
still
all
at
part-
Baldwin Road.
That's, yes.
Okay.
All three of the issues that you brought up are Baldwin.
Right.
But they, they're not new issues. They're,
Okay, I
they've
guess
been
I did.
discussed.
How old are they, Tracy? How old are they, issues?
We've been discussing them for a while. Haven't we? Yeah.
So it's not going to stop what we need to do at Baldwin Road?
No.
Okay. I also have, thank you, I also
Yeah.
have a question about the Moses Circle Apartments. I don't know if you want to bring it up, if I should bring it up here.
I would, no. Let's
Okay.
bring it up in discussion.
Okay. All right, then I have no other discussion regarding those minutes. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed?
Oh, I didn't think you voted. I wasn't
You
there.
abstained.
I abstained. I wasn't there.
Well, we're voting on the reports, not the meetings.
because you attended the meeting.
Okay, I was at
That's-
one meeting and not the other, so okay, I accept. Whatever. What am I supposed to do?
Resolution to pay the bills.
I'll make
Can I
it.
ask a question though?
Sure.
If the report says you're there, you're not there, isn't that incorrect?
You're not approving.
No, it doesn't say she was there.
This isn't, I've always questioned this because this resolution approves the reports, not necessarily your committee minutes, because your committee minutes are in your regular town board meeting tonight.
Right.
I never quite understood what the reports are for water and sewer.
Neither do I.
I've never gotten an answer for
You
that.
put them on here, so.
Well, I don't put that, I've never put that on
I
there.
mean,
No, it says you were absent from the January 27th.
Oh, okay, all
Yeah,
right.
but it said you were at the
That's what I
27th.
said today, I can't remember what date it was on.
The only time minutes even get approved is during our regular town board meeting. They should never be approved for your committee meeting because you can't pass resolutions or make
Right.
motions per se at a committee meeting. So when you approve things tonight, it's when you've been at the town board meeting, not necessarily as a department head. It's them as a board. Did I confuse you?
Yeah, but as long as she said that's absent, that'd be fine.
Am I correct by saying a person can read the minutes and when we approve them, it's the same thing?
Not if it's the town board minutes,
No, true, but I
but
mean,
your committee minutes.
committee,
Yes.
that's what I'm getting at. Correct.
Doesn't make,
They're two separate things, because committee minutes don't actually get approved by a resolution or a motion until you're in your board format, looking at them as a whole. So Wayne isn't here tonight. Next month, when he comes for the March meeting, he's going to have to abstain from
The board
approval
minutes.
or the minutes.
The board
Yes.
meeting minutes.
Right. I've never understood why we approve water and sewer reports.
Let me throw one more wrench into this.
Okay, what have you learned?
The committee reports start after the resolution.
yes, yeah.
Yes, but you're not approving, you're not approving the committee reports tonight. You're approving them, going to approve them as a whole at your March meeting, because I haven't, your committee reports are per committee with two
Which-
board members
which-
that aren't legal town board
I'm
meetings.
gonna mess this up even more.
Sorry about
Your minutes that you guys approve are my minutes. Nobody else's, and I have to compile all your committee minutes in this
This,
town board,
Document.
regular town meeting.
right. And those,
Going downhill.
those reports, then I'm assuming,
No, they don't.
I'm gonna make an assumption that the water and sewer reports that we are approving are the ones that were given at the last board meeting.
And I don't understand that. What are the reports?
They were the reports that were given down in this section of the agenda at at the last board meeting.
Then you would do that for every single one of the committees, but, well, I'm not, it's always been.
Maybe
done
they
that
don't
way.
feel that it's appropriate for all the committees, they just want to know about water and sewer. I don't
no
know.
idea. I've never understood that.
We'll investigate that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
tried to, but.
All in favor?
Aye.
Help me.
You know what you're doing?
Help me out here.
Water and sewer are separate taxing districts. You know, they could fall under something different than everything else. You know, they're their own.
Can we investigate this and save the discussion for
Yes.
after the investigation?
You go. Second.
I understand the question. I don't think anybody sitting here has got a ghost of an answer for it. So,
I've never known.
I do have a lot of reports that get physical reports from all.
But I'm going to find a particular guy in Lake George that's upset the clerk about it. Boy, look at what we got tonight.
Yeah, look at my hair, pulling it out.
Resolution to pay the bills.
So
Made that.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Resolution authorizing the following budget transfers, $41 from contingency A 1989.400 to discount on taxes contractual A 1370.400 to pay Essex County for franchise fee adjustments, and $32,056 from contingency A 1989.400 to unallocated insurance contractual A .1910.400, and that's to pay Rose and Kiernan for our insurance renewal. I believe that's our nightmare. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Can I get you to do the supervisor's monthly financial report, because we skipped over that one, talking about the water and sewer reports.
Excuse me. Resolution to approve the supervisor's monthly financial report. Moved by Chatty.
I'll second.
Seconded by Fred. Any discussion?
I have a question about the second page of the report. Almost the left column, fourth up from the bottom, page 235789, sewer project EFC financing. What specific part of the sewer project is that? 346,000. So curious.
That is the part that was just retired, I believe. Tell me again where you found it?
Left-hand column, second page, left-hand column, go to the bottom and come up 4. Sewer project EFC financing, 346,000.
It's a long-term finance
Yeah.
For
for the entire project.
the entire,
Everything that's happening
the
with
sewer
that,
plant.
with that, EFC financing, which includes work on Water Street, Lake George Avenue, wastewater plant. We financed long-term.
So we're still working on that project then?
No, that's the payment
That's the-
on the bond issue for that.
That, okay, it says January receipts, so,
That's when we went to long-term financing, that's what they owed us. Then they paid off the rest of the bills that we owed,
Okay.
I assume.
oh, so that's what it is, they're, okay.
Then I think there was some left over, and I believe the next, we got a resolution just down the page, which was that.
So does that eventually move into your budget then, your water sewer?
Part of it, they'll pay bills, then part of that went back into the infrastructure reserve.
Okay, thank you. Just trying to understand what some of these numbers are. No other questions from you?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution requesting New York State DOT place a two-sided Adirondack-style directional sign at the intersection of 9N and 74 that reads Commerce Park.
The reason we're requesting this is that,
Who's the we in this one?
I guess it comes from economic development. We talked about it in Buildings and Grounds last year. We're trying to clean up the entrance to Commerce Park to make it more visible, more attractive. And one of the comments was, it's not visible from 9N. And if we could just have a sign at 9N that says Ticonderoga Commerce Park is that way, then that would help bring business to those businesses that are in the park. It wouldn't be a cost to the town, the DOT. We have to ask the DOT's permission to do it, and then they would put up the sign. There are some, it's one of those brown and gold Adirondack type signs. And it's really to help the businesses that are in the park. This is just one part of clearing, it's one part of the signage issues, of all the signage issues for the Commerce Park. And I talked with Mark Omke from the DOT, and he said, yeah, if the town board passes a resolution and then it's followed up with a letter of request by the town supervisor, then that'll help expedite it. Otherwise, it could take years.
Good.
You making that resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Uh,
Any further discussion?
Is this going to come within the guidelines of signs?
Well, the DOT would be doing it, so. And it would be in one of their, they would put it in an area where they approve of, and you know, whether it's their right of way, so it wouldn't be a large sign. You know, it'd be a little bit bigger than the street sign, probably.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So you skipped over the closing of Montcalm Street.
Yeah, we don't want to miss Street Fest, that's July.
You want to get done tonight?
It's coming up.
A resolution to close Montcalm Street for the 6th Annual Street Fest celebration from GFMB to Sunshine Laundry, Saturday, July 25th, 2015, from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. GFMB being Glens Falls National
Glens Falls
Bank.
National Bank. I would move that.
We have a second?
Second.
I'm sure Chief Johns will note that on his schedule. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution naming the town of Ticonderoga located at Post Office Box 471, 132 Montcalm Street, Ticonderoga, New York, as the owner of the townofticonderoga.org website. The contact for the website is the town clerk's office phone 518-585-6677, email townofticonderoga.org. What?
The reason we're doing, well, I'll move, I'll make the
Okay.
motion.
Motion made, we have a second? I'll second, because I know what it is.
Well, so the reason we're doing this is that Pride has been maintaining our website, and now we're going to maintain it in-house. And so Pride, with the company that's hosting the site, has Pride listed as the owner. So this is just making us the owner so that we can maintain our own website.
So we own the domain?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Any further discussion? I would say that this is part of an ongoing effort by the town, being led by Chatty, to update and upgrade our IT segment. It's needed and has been needed. And the committee that's working on it has made some very good progress. And the young lady should be commended for all her efforts, but she's been putting a lot of time in on it.
Well, it's a team effort. It's a good team. I can talk about that later a little bit, just to get some ideas about what we're doing. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute the annual New York State DOT highway work permit renewal, agreeing to the terms of the undertaking in PRM 1.
I'll make that resolution.
We have a second, please?
Transportation highway.
Second.
What is
Moved and
it?
seconded.
What is it?
It's our work permit, so that we can perform work in the New York State right away for water, so whatever.
Thank you.
Crates aren't showing up.
Okay, thanks.
So it's for anybody, it's for water and sewer or highways,
Yes.
Town employees.
Yeah.
town employees.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution to transfer $168,000 from Central Sewer Improvement Project account to the Sewer Infrastructure Reserve account. Have a motion, please?
Moved. So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
Why are we doing this, Tracy?
This,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
That's what's, I believe that's what's left over from the receipt of what we got from closing our project out. Paid all the bills, this is what was left over. And, we elected to take that money, put it into the infrastructure reserve, the event some emergency powers up or something.
Exactly.
Good move.
Yeah.
It's a great,
Yeah, it's great.
we got to start getting that stuff built up.
It's real good planning.
Yep. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution authorizing the following training, including related classes that will be charged to the town credit card. Danielle Drinkwine Holman, basic training course, Rensselaer. William Ball, septic systems inspection training, and William Ball, stormwater training. The dates and locations are there. Have a resolution, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
Now, I have to go to E-Town for the youth. Do I have to have an approval for?
No.
Okay.
No, that's for a regular meeting. This is a special school training sessions.
Okay.
As long as you pay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You're on your own.
Not a problem.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We'll now go to committee reports. We'll start with Public Works, and I'll let Mr. Smith go first. But then, oh, that's right. He wasn't there. He doesn't know what we did.
I wasn't there either.
I'm going to keep it secret.
We were actually snowmobiling together, so.
No, we had a very productive meeting. We went over the last few details of the water project before Mr. Hodson issued his report. We had a brief discussion on the sewer plant. There were talks about the number of water breaks that we've been having because of the weather. And we appointed a committee of Mr. Juliano and Mr. Smith to contact Mother Nature and get that fixed. I can tell you that today we received our first notice back on the water project design report. It came from, surprise, the EPA. And they would like a phone conference to discuss the report, which, quite frankly, I take as a good sign. But obviously, the games have begun.
Will that report be available to the board members?
The basis of design?
You got it.
Not the basis, what did the EPA letter say?
Nothing. There's no letter, it was just an email looking for a conference.
Yeah, they're looking for.
She actually just emailed me back.
Okay.
In regards.
I thought she responded with a letter.
No.
Okay.
No, they want a conference with Mr. Fuller, Mr. Hodson, myself, and 2 people from Department of Health, a phone conference, to discuss Mr. Hodson's report. The games have begun, folks. We're good to go. The sewer plant is functioning about as well as it can, and without, aside from the water main breaks. And thawing pipes.
I heard they got a very nice letter from DEC.
Well, yeah, but that costs Tracy a lot of money. I don't know where you took that guy to lunch, but boy, it must have been special. It must have been really special. No,
Second time I received it.
the water department did receive a very, very glowing report from, I don't know, some state agency thing. More importantly, the sewer department also received a very glowing report from a citizen that came home at 9 o'clock at night or whatever with a sewer pump that a grinder pump out on Baldwin. Actually, it was a Putnam resident, and their pump had died, and our able staff really impressed the hell out of this guy with their professionalism and their courtesy in getting him back up and running in a very quick fashion. And he actually came to the office to express that, which is something that I get a lot of people come to the office. They aren't usually in that frame of mind. And it was very refreshing. Very refreshing.
That is good to hear.
We can move on to buildings, grounds, parks.
Well, is this, where can,
Oh, okay.
I'd like to go back to the discussion about Moses Circle Apartments.
Okay.
Can we do
back
that
up.
now, or I'd like to do it sometime this evening?
Well, we can do it now. I'm going to give a little background to it. Okay? There has been disagreement between Moses Circle Apartments and the town board for some months over the rates they are being charged for water and sewer. They are being charged 1 unit of water, 1 unit of sewer for each apartment that they have. That is theoretically what is supposed to be being charged in the whole community. Excuse me. It was brought to our attention by Moses Circle that there's at least one other entity that isn't charged that way. And that brought the town to the point where they have decided to audit the entire user account for Ticonderoga Water to ensure that everyone is being assessed the proper number of units for the parcel that is listed. We had a meeting with Moses Circle. They're aware of the audit that we're doing and are willing to wait to see what comes out of that audit and then move forward. You have something you want to bring up?
Well, we've had a couple of discussions about it, and I find I've lived on both sides of this issue, so that's why I'm bringing it up again. I was contacted by Vice President Moses Circle, and they're being charged 31 units. They're being charged the same as 31 houses for water, 31 houses.
I'd like to, no, that is not correct. They're being charged 31 units. A unit is a dwelling unit. A dwelling unit is a trailer, apartment, or single-family house.
Okay. So they're being charged 31 units?
Yes.
Okay.
And I understand, I know where you're going, okay?
Okay.
And I just, we've been over this, we've been over this, and we've been over this. And one thing I want you to know is that when Sunshine Laundry was changed, okay, there were other buildings in Ticonderoga that had single-bedroom, 600-square-foot units. And that's all that was in the building. They were individual, they were individually electric, heat, whatever. And for whatever reason, those units were, at least some of those units, to my own personal knowledge, were not offered the same rate credits that Sunshine was, or Lord Howe Estates. That seems completely unfair. Completely unfair. And that is what we're trying to correct now.
And I understand that, and I understand the reason for doing the audit.
Okay.
And that's fine if you're comparing apartment buildings to apartment buildings. But you've also been comparing a 30-unit apartment building being charged 30 EDUs to a home that has maybe a single elderly person, and they're going to be charged a full EDU whether they use 100 gallons of water a day or 1,000 gallons of water a day. 1,000's an exaggeration. An average is supposedly 300. Where I'm going with this is that a couple of things. Businesses, apartment buildings use a lot less water. And so because we don't have meters, we can't charge everybody according to what they use. But when you talk about the cost of, if there were 30 new homes being built in Ticonderoga, you would have 30 water lines to install water hookups, 30 sewer hookups. That costs a lot more than one water, one sewer hookup going to a building that has 30 users on it. So just that cost itself, the cost of installation is
Can we,
different.
excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but as you bring up the point you just made, okay, can we address these one at a time? Because it gets a lot less confusing rather than laying out a whole list of reasoning. Okay, what you just brought up is a very good point. The issue is how those 30 homes are developed and built, okay? Now, if you take a chunk of ground and you have a subdivision, you've also got roads, sewer mains, water mains, electric, everything. Customarily, that is now done at the developer's expense, not the town's expense.
Okay.
Okay, so those costs are not associated with the town. Those
Well-
costs are associated with development.
Okay. Okay. Maybe the installation cost wasn't a good example. Maintenance. Now you're maintaining, after those 30 homes are in, you're maintaining 30 hookups.
You have, no, again, well, let's address that point. You now have a district that maintains those 30 units, okay? It's spread over the district. From the mains to the residents, it's the owner's responsibility, not the town's.
So there is no benefit there's no decreased cost, there's no benefit realized by maintaining one water sewer hookup to a building that has 30 apartments inside it versus 30 water sewer hookups to 30 homes. There's no,
So one main.
it's still one main. How about breaks, how about routes?
We don't maintain the laterals. We don't, within the property.
The difference, Chatty, that is definable is the gallonage. And unless the people at Ticonderoga want to have meters, which they have clearly said they don't, that's, then you get into a point where you're trying to set up a list of reasons to give this person a lower rate than this person, and this person a lower rate than that person, and then you have such a litany of reasons that it becomes an administrative nightmare
And I
to
know
try
it
and keep
does.
that sorted out.
And one of the reasons I'm bringing this up for a couple of reasons. One is so that when we're doing this audit, this reassessment, we're considering things like this. And I don't agree that an apartment building should be treated the same as a home. But that's part of what I would like to start having being considered when we're doing this audit. The second part, we're talking about community development, economic development. One of the top strategies for promoting community development, economic development in your community is to support existing businesses that have demonstrated a commitment to your area. When you consider what was on the hill before these people built this, it was an eyesore, it was a huge liability that the hospital wasn't going to be able to handle. And this company came in and really did the hospital and the town a service by removing the old building, everything that went with it, asbestos, the ceiling, the roof cave-in, and putting in a nice building that it looks nice, it's energy efficient, it works well, and it's good quality housing for low-income seniors. That's something that I think we need to consider when we're, and I know you don't agree with business incentives, but business incentives are important these days. There aren't a lot of businesses coming to Ticonderoga. There just aren't. And if we can help a business that is, has made a huge investment in our town, if we can help them survive, and I don't mean we should do it indefinitely, but for, at least until our audit is done, I think we should help them by giving them some consideration for 2014, 2015 that is more in line with what Lord Howe Estates say is paying.
Let me ask you a question. Okay? You know I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Well, I have to, I can't just let this go away.
I
It's
understand.
something-
I understand. Okay, I'll do this a little differently. I can tell you that when the audit is done, it will come to the board, and it will be reviewed by the board as to the number of units, who's charged what specifically, and if the board wants to make changes to the user list, that would be the time to do it. The fact that we have a few entities that have received different treatment than the rest of Ticonderoga at the present time, I don't feel there's any reason to expand that. I think we need to bring equity to the whole system. And I think the audit needs to be completed before that can be done. Now, as far as taking care of businesses and take care of the town, that's a very fine point to take. But what about the people that live in those houses as single individuals or a couple that have paid taxes for 50 or 60 years in this town? What do we do to take care of them? I don't think we can ignore them. And if we start on one side of the coin, we've got to take care of the other. And that's where you go back to the administrative nightmare that we can create if we aren't careful. And I think everything should wait on the audit. If at that point in time the board wants to make special considerations for different properties, they can have at it. I personally believe that there have been businesses and developments brought to this town in the last 20, 25 years that I can think of that have stood on their own and worked on their own, and we have existing businesses that expand and whatnot, and they do it on their own dime, and I am not in favor of pilots and government financial gifts to buy a business to make their decision to come to Ticonderoga. If it's a viable business decision, it should be able to stand on its own legs and go. If it's not, I don't think it needs to be subsidized by the taxpayers before it goes under.
That's what happens. May I? You look at it in a roundabout way. Each and every business, if you give one, you should give another one. But here, you stop and think, if you're going to cut every business the monies that they're paying for their water and sewer will use, who's going to make up for that? The people that own the homes and so on and so forth are going to have to raise theirs just to more or less overcome the loss that we give all the businesses.
But that happens now, Fred. Walmart, $6 million business, came in on a pilot program with deferred taxes. Lowe's.
Yeah.
The meat packing place. I mean, I've been sitting there for 35 years paying taxes. So this stuff happens now, okay? It's not something new.
No.
It was a way to bring business to the town. I mean,
Do we continue it?
well, pretty soon Walmart will be paying full nut for what they have, and then we will be realizing some taxes out. It's long-term thinking is what it is, but somehow we have to incentivize these businesses coming to the community. I know what Chatty's saying. Do I like it? No, I'm paying full taxes. I know that. Guess what? If a Bennigan's coming on the corner, they're going to come with a pilot. It's going to make it easy for them to be there. I understand that, but I don't know what I don't know what you do.
I think there are entities that come here because they want to. And then I think there's entities that come here for what they can take. Which kind do you want for a neighborhood?
You can
Okay,
want
the
to
other-
be here, but that doesn't mean that it's easy to be here. It's
Sure doesn't.
It
Sure
doesn't.
doesn't. I agree with that 100%.
And and there are businesses that come here, but there's not a lot of businesses that come here. We have a lot of empty store frontage. We have a lot of empty space. People, and that's a whole different, it's not a whole different, you can say, well, if they don't have a viable business plan, then they shouldn't be incentivized. But sometimes they just need the incentive to help for the first few years until, and it could be taxes.
What incentive does the 75-year-old retired person on a fixed income have for paying the bills for those people? That's what you're asking them to do.
Well, if more businesses come in, if there were more businesses paying taxes, then ideally, that raises everybody's, that everybody's level comes up.
Which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, it's,
I'm not trying to be smart, but how many 75-year-old people do you need to incentivize enough people to bring their businesses
well,
here
and
to raise that?
75-year-old people can get star exemptions, for example. And, I don't know how much money that's worth. I'm not 75 years old. I feel like it. Anyway, there are some things that help them.
I get a star exemption, and you know what? I think I earned it because I paid full
Well,
taxes.
okay, so you do get something.
I paid I've never paid less than what the governments have asked me to pay on my taxes.
Well,
I
me
haven't
either.
asked, I haven't asked anybody to incentivize my business, okay? If my business couldn't stand on its own 2 feet, I guess I would have been doing something else.
Well, and
Says the supervisor.
you were what, a third or fourth generation business?
I was 30.
Third. So you had a business that was well-established, well-known. It's a family business. It's a lot different from somebody brand new coming into the community and deciding whether they want to invest $2 million or not. We need to attract that kind of investment.
When we struck out to develop homelands, okay, we didn't look for any pilots. As a matter of fact, we offered a very large sum of money to the town to incentivize them to improve their infrastructure and come with us, to encourage them to make our permitting process smooth. It's a different concept.
No, and you weren't trying to create housing for low-income seniors. It was a whole different thing. And I know your personal experience is different from mine, but from a point of community, from an economic development, community development point of view, you can't just say it's not productive to just say, this was my personal experience. You have to kind of look at what current strategies are for, things are still tough. Times are different from even when I was in business. It's changing. So
there are different concepts for different business practices and concepts. We can debate the strong points or negative points of all of them, but I don't know that here and now is a time to be doing that. I think
Bill, the process for developing the EDUs, can the board members come to those meetings?
you will definitely, right now, we're define what you mean the process for developing the EDU.
Well, don't 4 or 5 of you sit down and start identifying?
Right now, what we're doing is going through properties, and we have a concept in our mind of what an EDU is. An EDU is a dwelling unit, be it a trailer, an apartment, or a home. If there is more than one EDU assigned to a building, it's because that building is used for something other than just a dwelling unit. All that information is going to be brought with the audit that has the number of EDUs we've placed on each structure. That is all open to board discussion. We can, as a board, we can change the criteria for any or all of it. But when we get to the end of the road, we've got to have a system that's workable for the whole town. and equitable to the whole town.
And this just applies to the new loan financing that's going on? I mean, because all these districts are financed different ways and in different...
No,
Right, they're assessed differently.
It doesn't, no, they aren't assessed differently.
Well, yeah,
They are, no,
They have different debt.
well,
they have different debt loads.
well,
They do.
excuse me, 9N is assessed differently.
It is.
I just
It
got
is, 9N
a
is
huge
the only one.
adjustment.
That's an ad valorem, and that may very well change with this audit, because we're trying to bring equity to the entire system, and it's not equitable to have one district out of 8.
Well, 9N and IP.
Yeah, the IP line is the Shore Airport District.
Has an ad valorem.
And it's not equitable to have those districts, to have more than one assessment basis per district, or per town. I mean, that just seems, that's one of the items that's going to be discussed.
So I'd like to understand how this process is going to work, how long it's going to take, who's going to actually, it doesn't seem that, it said somewhere, we're going to do this in the next 60 to 90
Yes.
days. It doesn't seem like that's feasible, not to do the kind of detail work that we're talking about and the number of units that we have. It just doesn't seem that that's going to happen that quickly.
I would respectfully disagree with that. We're well underway with it.
I guess the reason I asked about the meetings, Bill, is you're going to be developing this process, and you're going to see the development of the process. If you come in on Thursday, the 59th day, and drop a 90-page document in front of me, I'm going to tell you, I need 3 weeks to look at that.
Absolutely.
If I was part of the process, I kind of understand what you're talking about as you go along. You know what I'm saying?
Let me explain the concept that we've been using, okay? If we involve everybody that would want to, if we open this to the public
No, I
at
didn't say
this
that.
point in time, or whatever, we've got a work group, we've got water, 2 people from the water district, the water clerk and myself, that are going through a stack of spreadsheets to assess the number of units. Once that is done, once that initial review is done, it will come to the board, okay? We hope to have that initial review done in 60 days or 60 to 90 days. Not the whole process, not by any means. Okay, the whole process, okay, once we get the units established, then we're going to have to consider each individual district's debt, each individual district's O&M costs, because depending on the age of the district, the O&M is going to vary. The older the pipe, the more maintenance you're going to have. The newer the pipe, the less maintenance you're going to have. And so on. There's a whole list of items that are going to go into this reworking of our entire water and sewer structure.
How many public hearings would you need? One for each district?
You have one public hearing, but it would be for each district, yes. You would do one joint hearing on it to go through the whole thing. Because you've got to comply with map plan reports in which these districts were formed.
Yeah.
That's where we've run into issues in the past. So if you're going to modify those, and then given Bill's, he's at right on the path, depending on how the districts were formed, with the ad valorem component or not for debt, you're going to stick with those. But that doesn't necessarily impact your allocation of EDUs.
So when are we actually going to change bills? When are people going to see a change in their bill that they receive?
I couldn't tell you.
That's
I don't know when you-
a good question.
So that's,
How long is the board going to take
I actually don't know when you
to
know.
come to agreement? How long is it going to take to get through the public hearing process? I mean, it's,
So-
going to take some time.
okay, so 6 months to a year anyway.
To completion,
Yeah.
I would think that's fair.
So nobody's going to see, the businesses in question are not going to see a change for that long.
No, but they can see the progress of what's taking place, and they can see the work that's being done.
Okay.
How?
Once we get the initial audit done, then it'll become a public process at board meetings. We've got a work committee that is getting this basic piece done.
Yeah, and I know,
Okay.
it's a lot of work.
And then and besides that, the clerk is going to be segregating out the different debt amounts, the different O&M amounts with her, Tracy and Derek. And there's a lot of work involved. And it's tedious and it's, you know, but I can tell you that the people involved, they're working very hard at it. We want to get it done both for people like Moses Circle and the rest of the town. There's inequities, some are more major than others, but there's inequities all through the system that really need to be cleaned up and taken care of. It's issues that have developed over 40, 50 years. And you know, there's a lot of inequities, some larger than others, but they all need to be cleaned up and taken care of. And when we have our new water system, we'll have our new billing system, and we'll be able to go down the road and at least know we've got equity. The only thing that would make it better, and this is a personal opinion, is I really feel that the only equitable way to do water is meters.
Meters.
But the people, you know, the people voted against that, and we, you know, we're here to do what the people tell us to do. I would like to, somewhere along the line in this process, I would like to see that ugly word raise its head again, because I really very strongly believe that metering is better for everyone. It really is.
I do too. I was in favor of it whenever it was, 5 years ago.
5 or 6 years ago, absolutely. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen. But, you know, it's not, that's something else that's not going to go away. I mean, it's, and I see efforts in the state to move every community towards metering. I think, in a way, I think that's a good thing, because if they keep pushing as hard as they are right now, they're going to have to start putting funding with it. And that makes it a different ballgame.
Well, certainly if, you know, water becomes more of a scarce resource and you have meters, then people are going to be more careful with how much they use. So it's going to cost less to treat the water, it's going to cost less, there's going to be less put into the sewer system, so it's going to cost less to treat the sewage. So it's, you know, it's a good, I think it's a good long-term goal.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay, those are my only questions. That's my questions about water and sewer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Buildings and grounds, you were here anyway.
For what?
Did you have a meeting for, oh, you did, okay, go ahead.
You're up. January 13th. Just want to let everybody know that the bid specs have been made available by Alfondre. We're all looking over pretty close. The meeting is primarily how to proceed with repairs, and I'm still working with Bill and some of the folks on this committee to move forward with this and how we move forward with this. These specs encompass a variety of work, from large projects to minor repairs. And the committee would encourage all local contractors to look at this stuff. This stuff is going to go out to bid, and there's going to be things that everybody can do. Some things naturally you won't be able to do, but if you'd like to work for the town and you need some work, please look at these specs when they come out and get involved, you know? There's things for everybody. I don't care if you're an electrician, I don't care if you're a mason, I don't care if you're a carpenter. There's going to be work that a lot of folks can do in these bid specs, so please check them out. Sharon Reynolds will be helping us with this process. Like I said, we're going to get together now. I would like to nominate my committee for this year for Buildings and Grounds. Myself and Chatty are chair and co-chair, but we would like to nominate Tanya Thompson, Sharon Reynolds, Joyce Cooper, Jerry Cooper, Bill Dahlbeck, and we're going to put Rich Holmberg on there for this year.
Good idea.
I brought it to the floor.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Thank you.
Wait, second?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion on the committee?
Has John Bartlett been part of the committee before?
John's here.
He was.
I've asked John about several of the committees, and he shows up, but, he's on so many things.
Okay.
So I did talk to John.
Okay.
He might have said yes, too, so I might be in trouble, but I'm going to go with this right
You
now.
can add him at a later
Yes, I
time if you
can,
need
yes.
to.
Yeah.
But he's there, and he helps us all the time.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Did you have another question for members?
Yeah, what are when it comes to the Alfondre bid specs, what are the projects in a nutshell that we're going after this year?
A nutshell would be identifying, 25 things here, 15 things at the Armory, 8 things at the Heritage Museum. I don't know them off the top of my head.
So I thought we were going to focus on 1 or 2 buildings, but rather than, so it's a number of smaller things at more than one building.
Many things. We're going to put the fuel tank in at the Armory this year. We know we have to do that. We're looking at securing perimeters of all buildings, and these buildings are here for many years. There's painting going on now. There's work inside going on right now because it's that time of the year. There's everything from the east portico stonework to drainage on the front of the building and blocking where we have a problem. There's windows, they're identified in the Alfondre project, which, is that out on the internet?
It is.
I'll get it there. I will get it there so people can, when the specs come, we'll make sure they're out there where people can get to them.
And so it'll be prioritized so we know what we're doing this year.
No, what we're doing is, we have some grant money. Automatic doors on the back of this building, it's finally been funded yesterday, by the way. Automatic doors at the Armory, a lift at the Armory for handicapped accessibility. So I'm trying to match grants with money to make it go further, where we can, as best we can. And Sharon's been helping with that, so. Yes, we will identify exactly. Once we get the specs out there and get the people to bid on them and get them back, then we'll start working on things.
So we're
Whatever
going
comes
to
up.
wait until we're not going to identify the priority, we're going to wait until we get the responses to specs and decide then what we're going to do first?
We have $325,000 to work with,
Right.
okay? And we're definitely going to look at what needs to be done first, what people are bidding on, and what we can do. So, okay, that's basically...
And that will be done, the committee will do that and make a recommendation to the board.
Yeah, well, a lot of this will go out to bid. It will be bidded, if it's a big project like the oil tank at the Armory, that'll go out to bid and all that. But we needed the specs to do this, and they're here now, so.
Hey, nice quick.
Yes.
Are you going to do like a whole bunch of separate bids? Or just one project?
Yes, no, we're bidding everything separate.
Separate bids.
That way, yeah.
A lot of it is separate bids. It's different areas of different
Yes.
buildings.
Well, yeah, you got thresholds too. Once you reach a certain threshold, you have to, you got to bid.
There are other things we have to look at.
You got
You're right.
electric, there'll be a separate contract for electric, separate contract for, depending on what the threshold is. But,
These specs,
that's a whole lot of bid specs.
Yeah, oh, yeah. We got a bunch of them, yes.
So every time you bid that, you have to do go through that whole process.
Yes.
Dave is,
Yes,
Dave, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are they going to be on the town web?
Well, that's what we're talking about now. Once we get them, we're getting bounded copies right now, so we have them to work with. We're getting diagrams we have to work with. We're getting everything together and get going on this.
Okay.
But yes, it needs to get out of the town. I think that'd be the best way for more people to see what the projects are, and what they encompass. So, specs are pretty big, though, aren't they? Some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, our next meeting will be Tuesday the 17th, 10 a.m. in this building. Chatty's going to take that meeting for me. We're supposed to be at the Association of Towns, so I won't be here. Thank you.
Don't quit, you're on a roll. Airport.
Airport. Fuel tank has landed. It's out there, in place. The next project is, well, it opens up a whole bunch of other things we need to do. There are no fuel specs on aircraft fuel. So there are 4 companies that make this fuel. So we are going out to bid on pricing for the fuel. And guess what I'd like to do is go ahead and make a motion to go out to bid contingent on the attorney reviewing the bid spec. If that's okay. Well, we got Matt here.
I'll second it.
I'd like to move that.
Moved and seconded.
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. We are meeting monthly. I know it says quarterly. We are meeting monthly. We'll meet again March 4th, so a lot going on. I'd love to have anybody come to the meeting. We're meeting here at the community building right now in the winter. That's where we are. It's a lot in here, but you can read the rest of it. Thank you.
Highway.
Okay. I want to appoint my committee for airport. I'm sorry, thank you.
Oh, okay.
I apologize.
We'll back up for that.
Councilman are myself and Fred, and we'd like to appoint Ernie Tobin, John Hanna, and Carlo Vigalotti to the committee. I'd like to move that.
Second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Highway, really?
Highway.
Okay.
Keep
I
going.
gotta find it. The back, yeah, thank you. Due to the fact that Highway has not had a meeting, okay, in 3 months, I would like to appoint the Highway Committee at the next meeting. I'm sorry, at the next board meeting. What I'd like to do is have a committee meeting, give people time to contact who wants to be on this, who wants to remain on it, because I really don't even know all the people. So if it's okay, I'd like to wait till March to appoint my Highway Committee. Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay. There is a parking ban in effect in Ticonderoga. Mark, I believe you've been helping with that lately?
There were 2 cars towed the other night to accommodate
Yes.
for snow removal.
Yeah.
Two very angry residents that.
Yeah. Cars will be ticketed and towed, okay? The highway is starting to operate for snow, once, you know, the priority is to get the snow off the roads, which has been a long, drawn process with a 10-day storm. Everybody knows we've had issue with that. But they come in at 3 in the morning to start to remove the snow off the sidewalk. So if there's a car in the road, they have to start turning away from that car 25 feet before they get to it, and they don't come in until 25 feet after it. I mean, and then they don't get back. We're not set up where they can get right back and do this. So that road remains like that for a long time, so please, I mean, even if the storm has passed, that's eventually when they're going to come in and do this work. You just need to be off the roads, or you're going to get ticketed, so.
Don't we still have signs all over town that says that there's no
Yes.
parking on streets between
It's very
November-
difficult for the residents, but they're going to have to, you know, for us to get these clear, they're
Yeah.
going to have to not be
Yeah,
on the road.
no, I
so.
think, I agree, we
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
enforce it, that's all.
These trash cans are also an issue for the highway, trying to plow, trying to remove snow. Please put them out at the last minute and get them back in right away if you can. The last 2 storms, I know Ace has called up and said they're going to be running a day late, so don't leave them out there for a couple days. They don't stop the snow plow a bit, but, you know, it is making a mess, and these things are all over the place, and please, try to keep them back if you can until it's time for delivery. We are going to have a highway meeting. It's going to be Wednesday, the 25th, and it's going to be at 8:30 a.m. right here. So, folks, that's when our meetings are going to be. In the future, will be the last Wednesday of the month, and that changes, so we'll let you know. Thank
Wednesday,
you.
the 25th, what time?
8:30 a.m.,
8:30?
8:30.
right here, in this room. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Taylor's not here for public safety. I don't believe there is anything, is it, Chief?
Reporter Craft was very detailed in her minutes, so I think we'll let those suffice unless you have any questions.
Okay, public health, there's no report. Insurance, I don't believe there's any report there. Contract negotiations, we had our first session with the highway workers. The second session has not been scheduled at this point in time, but I'm sure it will be soon, and we can report back to you. There's been no significant issues come up, but there is no resolution, so. Transfer station.
Chatty's been collecting names of contractors and whatnot. We're trying to find someone, some company, that'll take the electronics. And that's where we're on that.
I believe Earth Waste is interested in them. There's been a significant issue with Earth Waste trying to get information on the recyclables from Circle. That information was not forthcoming until last Friday.
Oh,
We finally received it. Carla got it after a fashion through the county. I talked with Earth Waste Monday. They are in the process of completing their proposal now that they have the information that they've been trying to receive. So I know they'll be coming forward with a written proposal. They're the only ones that have shown an interest in taking everything. And they want the recyclables. They will take the electronics if they get the recyclables. So
very good.
that may be the cure for that issue.
I hadn't
Hopefully. I didn't think to tell you, this week it's been so hectic.
Yeah, I know.
But it came in last Friday, they finally gave up the information.
Good.
And it's pretty constant as far as type year over year and tonnage year over year per type. It's amazing how close the numbers are.
Two of the employees from the transfer station have been trained on the blower, the sidewalk machine, and they're also running the pickups with the snow plows. They've been very helpful with highway, helping do the sidewalks now, and they're doing a great job for us. So when it's slow in the winter, and they have come over and helped us.
This is where, bring
Yeah.
those guys down.
Yeah.
And they've also taken advantage of bringing Tim in on a couple of
Yeah.
occasions to help out when they were really busy. So it's working out well.
Yeah, those guys are doing a great job.
Great. Good to hear.
Our liaison officer and her list.
My list. I just wanted to share with you, I attended a workforce development meeting in E-Town. And we talked about the work readiness credential that we offered a couple years ago. And the entities that were involved in bringing this to our town are willing to continue to do it, but unfortunately people aren't signing up for it. So we tried the first time we had it was very successful. We tried another 3 times after that, and people just weren't signing up. So we may try to do that again in a year, but for this fall, there's some discussion about about a training that they do with CV, Champlain Valley Educational Services and Clinton Community College. I think you're bringing it here. It's called AIM, Assembly, Industry, Manufacturing, and Education Curriculum. And it seems like, well, we don't have much manufacturing here. You know, we have the mill, but this includes OSHA 10. It includes Lean 100, which is learning the fundamentals of lean manufacturing, hand and power tools, safety and use, precision measurement, blueprint reading, electrical assembly, and there's opportunities to have this grant subsidized so that it doesn't cost the attendees a lot of money to attend it. And we're developing skills. Part of economic development is your workforce development. So maybe the mill, these would help people get jobs at the mill. Maybe it helps somebody get a job in Middlebury or get a job 20 miles north. But it helps people in our area develop skills that would be needed. So we'll hear more about that probably in the late summer, early fall. Website development, where our website we're planning the overhaul of it. We've got a consultant who we're retaining who did the website for the county. We're comparing sites such as Glens Falls, the city of Glens Falls and Saratoga, who have content on their sites that we don't have, like, we talked to Tanya, where she has a lot of forms that people could download from the site and print at their home, fill it out and bring it into her, rather than come in and say, oh, we need this or that. So it helps with making our operations more efficient. That's one of our goals. And it will also be an economic development tool to make it more desirable to tourists, to visitors. So that's a process that we're starting. And if anybody has any suggestions, we'll certainly, when we've got pages that are laid out, something that we can show you, we'll show you.
One thing, I know you've talked to Tanya. Have you talked with the codes office?
He was on my list and I haven't. You've talked with
I
him?
have them actually on my part of the website.
Okay, and maybe we just organize, but we should ask Bill if there are any other forms that, and maybe they won't be on, maybe they'll be under your department, but maybe they'll also be under codes.
They are right now.
They're in
On
both
the website
places.
right now, they are right
Yeah.
now.
But you're right, I should ask him if there's anything else he would like to put out there.
We'll launch all those zoning and planning forms once we get them finalized.
Great.
Yeah, I use them all the time. Very valuable.
From our economic development meeting that we had, just an update from Pride that Sharon's working on a smart growth application. It was submitted at the end of January. It was to fund the construction drawings on the sawmill project. What's been done so far, and it's kind of confusing. The research phase of the sawmill project has been complete, and the construction design will be done by mid-April. So this is the next phase, which is the drawings. And if that can get funded, then after that, it's building it. I guess I'll bring up the request for beer and wine in the park. I know we've had discussions about that before. This one's a little bit different. It came through the Chamber of Commerce, who is working with the Festival Guild. They're trying to build the number of people who attend the Festival Guild events. And since the tent is gone, they've been having most of their events behind the KFC Pavilion, which is nice that they have a place, but it doesn't have the feeling, the ambiance of the tent. So they'd like to hold some of these events in the park where the gazebo is. And if they attract now they might be attracting a crowd of 20, but they felt that if they hired a caterer or a restaurant to come and make hors d'oeuvres and drinks available, that it might attract more people. It wouldn't be, if we consider this, one of the considerations before was that it was a licensed vendor who was offering the drinks. So the fact that they would be using a restaurant or caterer would cover that. The other thing I was thinking is that if we did consider this, then maybe the area has to be roped off so that people can't wander off all over the park with a drink. They have to stay in an area around the bands, around the gazebo, where the music is, where the caterer is, so that they're not going up to the road, they're just staying in a defined area. And maybe we specify the number of people, where if it's, I don't think we want to entertain doing it for the best fourth in the north, so maybe there's a cap of 100 or 200 people, I don't know. But I'd like to, excuse me, I'm talking too much. And it's 8 o'clock, so I'd like to get some feedback. You think that this is doable? I know it was a dead topic given what we were asked to do before. Where do we go with this?
I've said before that I think we're missing an opportunity, and I think the entities that want to use the park are missing an opportunity to not have this available to them. There are some, not all, but there are some events that a cold beer or a glass of wine, I think, would be very fitting. I think the car show. We have a couple of bass tournaments at present that are larger tournaments. They want to get the KSC or the Elks to put some food in the park and hold their meetings in the park. Not their weigh-ins, not the, but when they come back from fishing, when the fish are taken care of, when they come back to town, they want a place where they can gather as a group. And I'm thinking with the parking between the Elks lot and the lot at beside Abishan, it would work very well. You get the KSC or the Elks or both to offer, maybe one does burgers and dogs and the other does chicken or something like that, or whatever. I mean, and let them have a gathering in the park. I'm sure they would love to have a cold beer with their chicken or their hot dog,
Right.
And I think those are events that would be good for the town.
Well, it would be good for small business too. If you have a catering business where they could, and maybe whoever is holding the event would hire their own caterer or restaurant.
I've been trying to get Dave to buy a food truck for the boat launch. I can't talk him into it, but
I think on the town board, I can't do it anyway.
The only thing I would have on that would be if it's a kid's deal,
Yeah.
then it wouldn't be. But
Right,
as
well,
far as
that's
anything you
4th of
have
July,
said, right.
no. but-
Anything you said, I agree.
Yeah, the festival guild, if they're going to use the park for their concerts, as long as it's not a kids, not
Right.
puppet shows and that kind of stuff, why not?
Not a kids, and I think we should put an upper limit on the number of people we would accommodate as well. It's certainly controlling, and I don't know what the number is. I'm thinking a couple of hundred.
Chief Johns just went in and shot.
Well, really, right now we have an open container law in place, and I'm sure there's rules and regulations for town properties that just would need to be looked at. Many municipalities have a waiver and permit procedure for bypassing those open container laws that accommodate for, let's say, a block party. If you have a bunch of neighbors that get along very well and want to have a block party during the summer, or there's certain things in the park. As long as it's well regulated, and we don't revert back to days of rolling up a beer truck to Common Street street dance when I was growing up. And really, I think that it's manageable as long as it's well regulated.
Yeah, cross that off the list, yeah. Darn.
Hey, what's that? Golly.
Well, so they would like an answer from us. Where do we go from here? Do we have to develop some guidelines for this? And where does that get done?
I think that's the point we're at. I think maybe we should ask the chief if he would research a couple other communities or three and see what he comes up with. Maybe Mr. Fuller would want to have a little input in this.
It's doable.
And,
The board's past boards that I've sat here, I've talked about it, and Mark's been in some of those conversations too.
I mean, Hague does Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
yeah,
They have, yeah.
It's a permit. Mark hit it right on the head. It's a permit process exclusion from the open container law. It's actually not a very difficult lift if that's what the board wants to do. And you can impose reasonable limits on it. You can, really it's your discretion because you are granting a permit exemption, a waiver from your local law. So it's legal.
Yeah.
And those, don't get me wrong, those people that are going to host it have to have appropriate liquor license, like you said, a caterer or something like
insurance and
that.
all that.
And insurance.
Yeah.
So there is work on their end.
Right.
They may can't go buy a case of beer, just, have your burger, but you can, it's doable.
Okay, great. Thank you.
They do it in streets.
So we'll expect to hear back from the chief at our March meeting, maybe?
Well, and with Chatty saying that, I mean, I was going to bring this up at my portion, because the chamber, I work closely with the chamber and everything that they do in the park, of course, and they really want to encourage the local vendors to come and be in the park. And right now, our peddler's permit does not allow that. You still have to get a peddler's permit to be anywhere off your own property and to be on town property. And I talked about Matt that maybe we could look into amending our peddler's permit process to include something like this and to allow our own town businesses to operate without another fee in our own parks. But doing that, when you amend local law, it's quite a process to do. You have to have a hearing, you have to have, you know, and I would like us to look at that. And we can put something about that in, about the liquor license in that peddler's permit. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, I'll have to ask the board to pass a resolution to exempt local vendors this summer from being in our park and having to pay that $50 peddler's fee. If that's up to you guys to do. We exempt the street fest vendors from getting out every year. You did close those streets down, but we didn't do that part yet.
Could we do that
We want to hear price offers or?
before we leave?
Is that the,
So did I really confuse you?
Well, if what, I know we talked about the best fourth in the north and how there aren't a lot of local vendors who participate in that, and that the peddler's permit may have been one of the barriers. No? Okay.
Not an offer that. I still would like them to be encouraged to be down there, but that was a whole different kind of issue with how many days we're down there.
So what you just mentioned about exempting the peddlers, the street fest vendors from that, can we put that in the next meeting, or can you word it now that we would approve it? I just don't want to forget it.
Yeah, you can do it now if you want to exempt the street fest vendors from having to do the peddlers.
I personally, I think we ought to have more discussion about this. I mean,
Well, that's why I'm bringing it.
it might, you know, if we can generate more activity, okay? Do we want to eliminate the fees that would be coming to the town? You know, if we can add 50 events a summer in the park, do we want to eliminate those fees?
Well, I'm just suggesting for our own local business owners here in town. Not the ones that come like for the 4th, we get the little smorgasbord down there.
I understand, but if you fill the park with local vendors, you're not going to have room for anybody else. So
And this has been thrown around several different times.
So you've eliminated the fees.
It's up to the board to do that. It's come and gone a couple different times. It's gone one way once, and then it's gone another way another time. So this is just, it's early enough right now in the game. I'd like you guys to really think about that.
I think that's a good thing to-
Parks and Rec, but since we're talking about it now.
I think that's a good, I think it deserves thought. I really do. I'm not sure which side of it I'm going to fall on, but to be fair to everybody, I think it's kind of quick to look at it tonight, you know, a snapshot.
Yeah, well, I was
and
just
make a decision.
suggesting just for Street Fest that we make that, we've done it before for Street Fest. So just, you know, we don't want to charge, they pay TMSP $50, I think, so they're not going to,
They're paying TMSP, a peddler's fee?
it's not a peddler's fee, it's a space for their 10 feet. That's what pays for all the advertising for Street Fest.
And that's not a peddler's fee.
Well,
We close their street.
well, but we can't, if we charge, if we charge a peddler's fee in addition to that, then we're not going to have vendors for Street Fest.
Did anything like against the law pop up in anybody's head during all this?
It's, we've done it for 5 years
I know,
already.
I've drove 95 on the interstate forever, and you know what? I got a ticket. I can't imagine why, because, I always drove 95.
Why, what's illegal about it? I don't understand.
We're closing down the street, town street, for TMSP to hold an event, and they're charging a fee for the peddlers to come in.
Well, if they're charging a fee to be part of the event, I think they'd have to be careful how you did it.
Yes.
If you're charging to rent town space, you have an issue.
Yes.
If you're charging somebody to be involved in the event,
I probably misspoke.
yeah, right? Because there's
Just make sure it's worded correctly.
going to the motorcycle event, right? You have to pay to be
I'm
part
sure
of the
that the
event.
wording hasn't been
There's
changed.
nothing illegal about that.
No.
Yeah, American. I mean, yes.
Right. They're on municipal property. You charge to be involved, you're not charged for your event.
They're charged to be involved and they're given a space to use.
I signed it already.
Oh, Wayne's.
Yeah, Wayne's got
Well, would you bring both of those up at Buildings and Grounds
Okay.
and we'll talk about them again?
Yeah, I had it on my.
Great, thank you.
It's been tossed around like every other year. It gets done. That's why we had so much issues with the 4th of July, because they always charged them to come into our park. They never paid us a cent until I finally got them to at least do a peddler's program to be in our park. And that was weight in it, and that was a big issue. But
Well, and that's a
it
little
needs to
bit,
come up again.
that's a little bit different. That's a multi-day event. Thousands of people come through. And it's hard on the park.
The equipment they bring in does damage. That was my problem with the park all along, was
Yeah.
we end up preparing the park, and that's what bothered me about that.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, the rest of it is up to the townspeople what they want to do, but why should we pay to fix the park when they bring tractor trailers through? That was my issue with it.
Well, and I think we got that ironed out when we had Matt and the 4th of July committee chairperson, Debbie Barber. We had a discussion round table here, and I think we had got all that
I think
ironed
there
out
was, yeah.
at the end of last year's event, so that should all be
Should be better.
better.
Yeah.
I won't say it all should be fixed, but it should be better. I
And
think
it's still Dave's committee anyway, so who cares? No, I agree, Chatty. I think that meeting we had last fall,
16 days in.
September, whatever it was, it should make some difference going forward.
Okay.
The peddlers at Street Fest, I see the difference between that and the park, but I tend to side with Mr. Fuller that,
Be careful.
If it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Participation.
Participation fee.
Okay. The word whisperer.
Don't quack when you say it.
Yeah.
I would, no.
No.
Chatty was beating us up in the
Chatty's-
committee.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Okay. Mr. Fuller.
Okay, so during the last month, we finished up the spill matter out of the highway garage. DEC agreed with AES and signed off on a modification of that order, so we did not need to install the wells. That's been signed and sent back to DEC. So that was a big savings for the town. Coming up on the water and the DOH, EPA compliance. Next week is our next round of public notices, so if people are watching, they're going to get those, assuming Sue's sending them out next week or this week. They're out.
They're out.
So the notices are out, you'll be getting them. Again,
The phone calls will start.
they will start again, yep.
While we're on that subject, could I ask a question? I can't think of any water source that's ever been tested for cryptosporidium unless there was an issue with the water source. Am I correct in making that statement?
That is part of your filtration avoidance. So if you are sand filtering or filtering water, you don't have to test. You're correct.
Is it easy to accomplish that test, or is it something that is
God,
Very
awful
difficult, very difficult, very expensive.
And time consuming. It would probably take you half the reporting time, right? Month,
Yeah.
month and a half? It's not a.
It's not a very
fast
easy,
turnaround.
and it's very, from what I understand, it's very subjective.
Yeah, and I've
New York
never,
City tried it, they tried to do some testing, and it was rejected. And then, when they rejected the test, the testing.
isn't it a live fish test?
It's, apparently, the majority of the there's only like 1 or 2 labs in the country that do
Yeah.
it. It's not an easy test,
Yeah.
and it's very expensive. I don't know numbers, but we were told it's very, very expensive.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's actually done it. Everybody installed filtration
Catch-22.
plants.
Just going,
I do have one matter that I put in the report that we probably have to follow up after on the payment to the contractor for the well. There's an outstanding question I have for you.
Yes, that should be an executive
Yeah.
session.
Yep. I had a long, actually, Todd was down in my office today. He and I met for a while this afternoon just to go over things. A few things coming out of that meeting with him. Excuse me, the Lake Champlain Basin Program grant. He needs a little help on direction from the town as far as what we're going to do with that grant. It's a $20,000 grant, but there's probably double that in work. But it's going to take a lot of coordination between, from his standpoint, the highway department particularly, and the sewer department. And, you know, I think he said at the sewer meetings, there's a potential for more money down the road to do more of this work. This is kind
Exactly.
of
I
pilot.
talked with Anna Reynolds about this yesterday, maybe the day before. And I was hoping she was going to have Todd call me. He never did. But
Okay.
there is potential for a lot more money. And there's also an opportunity for in-kind service
Yeah.
to pay our portion, provided that the highway and the sewer department work together. And I don't see why they can't. And
They work great.
it would be to the benefit of the town. Yeah, it's-
So if we want to go forward with that, Todd's vision here is the next CFA round is probably coming in June.
Yes.
Right, so this project, to get it going, that stormwater management plan that Todd had sent around.
Yes.
If we want to really implement this pilot program to go after that money, we'd have to adopt that, get this thing out to bid and get it out the door, or to get the project started. I don't know if you're not going to bid it, if you're all going to do it for us, but, so that stuff needs to move in pretty quick succession. He just wanted to make sure, because it's March, April, May, June, we're looking at 4 months to get this in the ground. I mean, I can have, to adopt that stormwater management plan, I would have environmental assessment form and a resolution for you to adopt. So I can move that up the list if that's the direction you want to go, but it needs to move.
I believe it is.
Okay. So
is
I'll get that
that would be in addition to our GIGP
separate, yeah.
separate?
Yes.
Yep.
And so would it address a different area of the town, or what would?
It actually addresses
that's portage.
it's about like the midpoint
It's
of
like
the
a bump out.
GIG.
I believe it's, I haven't, it's like.
It is the bump out.
It's green infrastructure.
It's a drop curb inlet, right?
It's green infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah. He and I were talking about today. If you go through and read that report, there's different ideas of those kinds of things. It's right in there.
But it may bring a lot more money for the stormwater project.
And it would go towards our long-term control plan,
Okay,
those kinds of things in the plan, because we're taking stormwater off the sanitary. I mean, that's the goal.
That's
is to
great.
keep this in the
Yeah.
ground.
That's great.
So that's where the bigger money is, and you get the compliance with the long-term control plan. The WQIP list, there might be a letter that I wasn't on an email, but we need to get that going. There's a deadline coming.
Yes, there is.
I don't even know if somebody can send it to me tonight.
Well-
I'd like to review it tomorrow morning before I get out the door.
That W-Quip,
Yeah,
there's dates and schedules in that.
Yeah.
Have we got the contract yet?
no, we have to, I think we need a resolution, which hopefully, if I can get that letter, I flipped through my emails today, I can find it. then I'll have it for the end of the month. I'll put this stuff together tomorrow before I get out the
Yeah, we're
door.
gonna have that, we gotta move quickly on that.
Tomorrow's,
Who has the
so,
order?
I don't know.
Who has?
He was gonna look when he got back to his office, but whoever's got it, send it to me. It's in an email somewhere, we'll find it.
Not me.
GIGP, that project's still in Archeo. I know you sent me an email yesterday asking us when we're gonna schedule the closing with CP. They're still in their environmental part. But the only saving grace is this thing's still buried in archaeological. So there's a couple more weeks minimum left for them to get the archaeo on some of the hot spots. Had a long discussion about, I don't know if anybody's actually gotten the time to read through that basis of design report. I started it, believe it or not, I'm actually going to take it on vacation, I'm going to read it. That's what I do, drive my wife crazy, but.
You're gonna find an awful lot of very interesting stuff.
Sure are. Yeah. Well, I generally look at those things. It's funny because Todd and I were talking about today. I look at the schedules first.
And then I had, after that report came out, I had a long conversation with Todd about membrane filters at Baldwin. That is not something that has gone away. And that just makes it more interesting.
Yeah. So we had a long discussion about that and where we are. If you look through the numbers and things like that, it's big. It's a big project.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to be having discussion soon on gooseneck with DEC. Todd has primarily talked to them. They aren't putting anything in writing yet, but I will be pushing that issue after this meeting I have with him today. And the Chilson line, that's on the list. The map plan and report, some of you may have seen the emails that came around from Todd. There's a draft. We had comments back and forth. He and I talked about it today, and that will be going hopefully tomorrow. I'll be kicking that down to Doug. So those resolutions may come back while I'm gone. I'll be coming back the last Tuesday of the month to the state, so I won't actually be here in New York.
Well, you just got to come back a day early.
I wish. To start rolling. My wife would be pulling the rope the other way. Yeah, right. The reason for that is it's her birthday, so I couldn't. She puts up with me, you know. So there may be things being pushed around here while I'm gone. I'll be hopping in to keep things moving because our times are tight. We're tight on that Chilson line's got to be in before any of the other work can start. To get even water into the tank that's someday going to be there. So these dominoes need to fall in pretty quick succession. We don't have a lot of weeks left. So that's the big stuff on the water. And I really think, let me hit the rest of my report here. Hit that. Oh, the back truck is, I have the stuff. I drafted it, I just didn't send it.
Okay.
It's in my hopper, but this stuff really kind of took the priority right now. Other than that, I think we're in pretty good shape. It's water and sewer. It's key.
And our clerk?
We have some interfund advances to be adopted tonight from general to CP Daylight Streaming, age 49, $1,664.02. Funds will be reimbursed with grant funds, and from general to Park Avenue Sewer District, SSO2, $820.41, and funds will be reimbursed with rents.
Have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We are very close to our dirt bid running out, so I'd like the board just to approve our annual dirt bid to go out to bid, if you would, tonight.
I'll make a motion.
Dirty dirt?
This is general use dirt or?
Gravel, bank run sand, it's everything. We bid it every year.
Have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Any further discussion?
What did we make a motion on?
Putting your dirt out to bid.
Accept the prices on the dirt.
Thank you.
Or go to bid on the dirt.
Okay.
Put bid on it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The town portion of the tax warrant has been satisfied the beginning of this week.
Yes.
So we have collected over $4 million, and then we'll start paying the county portion probably next week. We don't have a lot left.
We're going to send out thank you notes?
And I just want to remind that the board did pass a resolution to hold a public hearing March 12th, 6 o'clock, and that was to get information and discuss the removal of the B dam on the upper section of the Shoe River. And that's all I have.
All righty, I have one other item I wanted to bring to the board's attention. DOT sent us a letter regarding the speed reduction on Route 74 and said, ain't no way. We tried. We still believe that it should be done, but it's kind of the same deal as the Fort Ty intersection. There's no best, so that's where we're at with that. We do have a item for executive session involving negotiations with a particular firm.
To get legal advice.
Pardon?
To get legal advice from
To
you.
get legal advice. And I'd entertain a motion to go to executive session.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.